You can't. There's no easy way to explain stuff out here. You guys will just have to see it from the air, and it'll make more sense because there's honestly no words for it.
Yeah. This is a missing person, young kid from Idaho, who was running a farm out here in the very, very western part of Utah, on the other side of the Great Salt Lake. He's got his whole family's from Idaho. He's from Idaho, 19-year-old kid. Bought his grandpa's farm. Some weird stuff's been happening. We'll explain the whole story here in a little bit, but long story short, he called his family about running into some sketchy dude last Wednesday. He went missing on Sunday night. He's gone, his phone's gone, and his wallet's gone. And then when people went out to kind of search for him, a story popped up that the guy that he ran into potentially was in a town called Montello, Nevada, because at the time that he ran into him last Wednesday, the dude asked to use his phone, so he let him use his phone for a second, and then he asked for a ride, and Dylan was like, no, he just kind of like passed on it and left him. This dude was walking barefoot down the street. He appeared to be like high on something. So anyways, fast forward to Sunday, people are saying that this guy went to town to Montello, Nevada, which is about 20 miles east of where Dylan's farm is, and asked about Dylan, and then somebody supposedly gave him a ride to Dylan's trailer at the farm, and then that's the story that they had. But now the story is kind of evolving. Different people, basically this area, it's a really weird area. It's west side of the Great Salt Lake, so it's very desolate. It's actually a military operating area, and in fact, if you look here on our flight map, it's all restricted airspace. So all this area right here is what we're going to be flying through. So we had to call up to the Air Force Base here, Hill Air Force Base, and get special clearance to be able to do this. And because general aviation, nobody can enter this airspace. This is all off limits to pretty much everybody. So another interesting component to this is the range is live and active today, which means they're out there doing target practice with jets, helicopters, all sorts of stuff. So we have a very specific flight plan that we have to follow to be able to get out there, but we do have approval, and we're going to be talking with the tower and the range the whole time, kind of letting them know where we're at so we don't get struck by some sort of errant missile or something. But basically, the family's been out there for the last couple of days searching, and this whole area is filled with kind of either ranchers, farmers, or meth heads. That's kind of the only people out there. Nearest town is Montello, Nevada, which is maybe like 3 or 4 square blocks. It's not a very big city at all. And then from there, nearest town is Wendover, which is a little like border town right here with Utah, inside Nevada. But the whole area is just full of kind of sketchy people. And apparently there's a lot of sketchy people that were working on Dylan's farm, working for his grandpa. And then Dylan, when he either bought the farm or took it over, these people, there's just some weird stuff going on there. And there's a potential that they killed him and they buried the body, which is kind of, the worst case scenario here. But we are kind of the only search and rescue operation that has the ability to get out there right now and do it. Nobody else has searched from the air. They've been out there, like I said, on horseback and razors and stuff, searching around. But according to the family who's out there, they say every time either the police or somebody shows up, all these kind of squatters and different people just show up and like start watching and listening. And so even though it's like literally in the middle of nowhere, there's a bunch of people out there just kind of like camping, and like that's the best way to describe it.
She said it's like super weird because she doesn't know where they are or where they're getting information, but they'll all of a sudden show up when like detectives or police or sheriffs show up, like they're all of a sudden there again.
Yeah, so it sounds like
walking somewhere,
a network
somewhere, yeah.
A network of people, squatters, drug addicts, different people like that are all kind of on the same page, that communicate with each other all the way from the Nevada side of the border into the Utah side of the border. And if this was part of their plan, if they intentionally tried to get rid of Dylan, or if Dylan pissed somebody off and there was an argument, they did find his boots on the side of the road, Dylan's boots, and it appeared that he was in some sort of a struggle. Our goal right now is to go out there and locate a backhoe that they could have potentially used to, if somebody did kill Dylan or take him, they could have potentially used this backhoe to bury him. So
backhoe, I think, is out there. They just
think
that the backhoe may have drove out into the middle of the desert. There's a spot out there that's a burial, something. Yeah, so
we're taking some protection with us, just because we don't know what we're going to run into. So if you see guns, that's purely self-defense. We're not going out there to pick a fight with anybody.
That you're using.
Poor kid out there just getting.
Kid's 19 years old.
Yeah.
A young kid. His mom's like, this was his dream. His dream was to have a ranch. So he worked his whole life. And she's like, well, his young life.
She's like, he didn't date in high school. He didn't worry about going on partying. He woke up every morning, went to work on the farm, and that's what he wanted to do.
He wanted to be a farmer, and now he has it, and now something's happened.
We're dealing with very, very little information here, like minimal information. From what we've been hearing, there's definitely the potential for some foul play.
Is that your dad? Visible film stuff.
Where'd you find fudge?
Don't worry about it, David. I bought them.
Alright, so you're currently about 10 miles from where we're meeting up with Dylan's family. I'm not sure if this is the actual farm or the ranch where he was working or right nearby it, but from here we're going to be able to touch down, meet with his parents, and then all the other people who are out here looking for him, and then get a good idea of or a better idea of what happened, and then we're going to pick back up and search the area. This is basically kind of the terrain we're going to be searching. It's kind of like lake bed. It's kind of like this is a little bit higher than the Bonneville Salt Flats, and then you've got these huge mountain ranges that come up out of it. So I think the ranch or the farm that we're going to was on the lake bed part. So hopefully we don't have to fly too up in the mountains as far as searching for them goes. But we'll see what shakes out once we meet up with the family here.
Yep, this is Heavydsparks. So.
Hi, I'm Candace. I'm Mom. This is my husband, Mike.
Mike. Nice to meet you guys. I'm sorry.
I know, this sucks.
That sucks.
We know he's out here.
This was the close guy.
There's a shop up here, and that's where he was supposed to leave from. And behind that shop, that's where we found his boots.
Yeah, we found his boots.
Just his boots.
That's it.
From here.
Yeah.
But his campers and pickup and everything was locked up on the other end.
We'll have you give.
Sure, you see that shop?
Yep.
So that's where last we heard from Dylan, he was going in to park his grain truck, his seed truck, so that it didn't get rained on. That was like 7:30 Saturday morning, and then he said he calls Grandma right back, and then she never.
That was Saturday morning?
That was Saturday morning, and so we figured he took off across the desert walking back to his camper, because that's nothing unusual for him.
How far's his camper from there?
It's 5 miles down this road. Just off, yeah. But for a 19-year-old kid who's out here farming by himself, he's used to having to walk himself around.
Okay.
Move equipment, But then later that day when Search and Rescue got out, we found his boots behind this dirt pile that's straight out back here, about 400 yards from where he left his grain truck. So we're starting to wonder if he was even the one that took his grain truck out there. There's some sketchy stuff because there's really deep ruts where his grain truck was, and it shouldn't have rained that hard already.
Yeah.
Because the rain didn't start till like 6 in the morning.
Okay.
So we don't know if something went on out there. Like I said, that's kind of with your guys' eyes in the sky, watch freshly turned up dirt. I mean, you guys know what to look for. Just any disturbance that shouldn't be there. This desert's pretty much all the same, so.
Yeah. So that way we'll find
Yep.
basically just a trailer.
A camp trailer, you'll see the pivot, his pickup, there's all kinds of equipment. Yeah, it's all of his stuff's out there. Straight through, see that dirt pile?
Okay, yeah.
His boots were just tossed out right behind that. And there was nothing else around him, nothing.
Yeah. Were they on the far side of away from
Yeah.
the road, so
Yep.
you wouldn't see them from the road? And that's all you guys have found so far?
Yeah, we have nothing else. And they, like I said, search and rescue, they were out here the first night. They got here, maybe 5? They didn't even take off and looking until probably 7:30.
Yeah.
Then they bailed, and then they came back maybe 6 hours that day, and then they said, we're calling it, and they all left.
Past that over there, you'll see the hill, and that's the last place his phone was pinged.
Yeah.
Right. That
Where?
after.
Right past that shop by the railroad tracks, there's a hill you drop down in.
Shop in the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
You can see the road kind of goes like that, and right where it makes the bend, that's.
What time it was pinged at?
1541, but it gives a 15.4 mile radius, and the cop showed me on the map. So if you draw that circle from the cell phone tower, this is part right on the edge of it, and the rest of the circle Dylan would have no reason, to be at. It's out in the middle of nowhere, so that's where it was.
Was that before or after he was supposed to call Grandma back?
That was after.
It was after, so
Yep.
it was over there.
Out here we've been getting so much information from locals, and it's just a circle. It's
Right.
none of it's been true. Nothing we have chased it.
Where are all the squatters at from here then? So
Everywhere.
just everywhere?
Everywhere, this whole valley.
And is there a few that we're thinking have the most to do with it?
The ones that are right here, the one that lives up here, and the one that was helping him,
The old grumpy guy over here.
the old grumpy guy, and
They
then
were actually working for Dylan,
yeah.
and I don't think they, like taking orders from a 19-year-old to
Right.
begin with. So
Yeah.
And he's not talking to anybody, not cooperating with.
he
He
talks.
talks, but it's
Not,
just
doesn't give him much information.
no, it's no
Come
information.
in the morning, see what our plan is, and then give us a few hints on where to go, and we spend all day in the wrong place.
Right. Just a wild goose chase.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. I mean, we have nothing going. Law enforcement bailed on us. We're just out here trying to find them. There's no easy way to explain stuff out here. You guys will just have to see it from the air, and it'll make more sense, because there's honestly no words for it.
Yeah.
There really isn't.
A whole bunch of us have been down through the wash and back out from
Yeah.
here to the farm.
Yeah,
too.
we've
So
covered all this north of here to the tracks and clear back up east of the farm along the tracks and then back to this road.
So his camper, his truck, all of his stuff's still there. Only thing missing would be him, his phone, and his wallet. You said.
Yeah, found his gun.
Found
So
the key fob to pick up everything that was
Yeah.
missing. That's
We'll start by getting up and flying just kind of a big wide circle, kind of just getting a little bit of a perimeter from basically mountain to mountain, and then just start kind of spiraling, working our way in from there. If he walked, if he did go on his own, then I mean, who knows how far he could have walked. If he didn't go on his own, then obviously he's got to be right in this basin somewhere.
You ever switch boots out with
No.
tennis shoes or anything?
No.
Probably not being a farmer,
No.
right?
my son will wear the same pair of boots until there is holes in them, and then he will go buy the exact same pair of boots. I have boots from this big up until he decided he didn't like that kind, from size baby 2 to size, I don't know, I think those ones in the living room are 9 and yeah, and
All exact same boot.
all exact same boot, and I got little decorations tied across them. They all got holes in the side. They got the same side step. He absolutely will not change boots. So,
And those were his most recent ones.
yep,
Wherever he was going without shoes or boots.
yeah.
Based off of all that information, your thought is to kind of check for ground disturbances and anything like that.
Yep, anything you can see that looks out of place up there. So there's a backhoe out there that one of the guys in town owns that was doing some groundwork for him, and it's still out there. So
Moved at all? I mean, there's no way to know, huh?
yeah, there's no way to know. And when the rain came in so hard, after, because so I talked to a lady in Salt Lake, called me, Dana, her husband and her come out caving all the time. And so she got me the timeline on the rain. She just wanted to give me all the information of everything she's seen out here. And she said it started raining between 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning, and it wasn't as substantial as a downpour. And then it got really windy, tapered off, and then really started raining hard late in the afternoon and all day Sunday. So the tracks that are made by Dylan's truck, if he was taking it out at 7:30 when he called his grandmother in a panic to get his truck in, or she called him and he said he couldn't talk because she was getting the truck in. Yeah. There's no way that 10-wheeler could have left tracks this deep in the mud. Yeah. There's no way. So we don't even know if he's the one who actually took the truck. And trust me, he would not get sidetracked and not protect his seed. This kid has been working out here developing this ground since he was 16. It is his pride and joy. He's not going to get seed ruined. I mean...
Did the truck not make it into the shed?
Yeah, it made it in. We just don't know if he's the one who took it.
Gotcha.
And his pickup was locked, which is super abnormal. He never locks his pickup. Never. He is... You can follow his habits to a T. I mean, when... you could just look at it and say, no, that Dylan didn't do that. The kid he's a creature of habit, and it doesn't change. He's either got a dark sweatshirt on, even if it's 80 degrees, or he has a quilted flannel on, even if it's 80 degrees. Wranglers, it won't change. You will not find him in anything else. So, and they keep saying, well, could he go off with friends? Could he this? No. Not this kid. Yeah. He's out here. This is his baby. So... yeah, we're just kind of at a loss. So here's where it got fishy. So Dylan, last time I talked to him was Thursday. Last time his dad talked to him was Thursday. It's nothing to go 3 or 4 days without hearing from Dylan when he's planting. But usually the grandma will hear from him, or I'll hear from him, or his dad will, and somebody will. So he may not talk to everybody, but daily he talks to somebody. So Saturday, when Karen didn't hear back from him after putting the truck in, she got a hold of Don Sunday morning and said, go check Dylan, blah, blah. They said, Don went and checked. He said his pickup's locked. We can't tell if his guns are in there. He hasn't been here. So then he went and got Jim, and they went and looked again. So I guess...
So the grandma called Don first?
Yeah.
Yes. And then Don and Jim were the first ones to look?
Yes. And so throughout this, I have Karen thinking back on it, like, did they say anything like, don't worry about it, he'll be fine, everything's good, so she didn't alert me or Justin, his dad. So then Monday comes around, and I get a phone call from JD, Dylan's best friend, that says, have you talked to Karen? They're looking for Dylan. And I said, no, I have heard nothing about this. So from Saturday night till we got out here Monday, Don and Jim had been supposedly looking for Dylan, and I know the way Karen is, and I know her mind's frazzled now. If they would have told her in her mind, or to her, don't worry about it, he'll be okay. It's Dylan. He's been out here for 3. You just kind of roll with it. But yeah, so for...
Is there a chance that Don and Jim were at that shop when Dylan was taking the grain truck over there?
Yeah.
And then from there, something happened? Because that's why his boots would be over there?
That's kind of the... Yeah.
That theory, if you follow it, would want to make it look like he was a young kid that just took off on his own, being reckless and wild, but at the same time, make it look like...
somewhere though.
Well, I don't know, they would make it look like he locked his truck.
Well, they're trying to point us in the direction of town, and... they're not trying to make it look like he took off. They know Dylan well enough. You're never going to pull that off. They're trying to make it look like it's away from here. Nothing happened out here. It's away from here.
Halfway in between here, and they do put a padlock on it, but it's just a barbed wire gate. They said that's the first time Dylan's ever closed the gate when he's coming here to drop the truck off. But they said absolutely he had to leave that way because he closed the gate off of this road right here. And we know Dylan. He's going to take the shortest way to his trailer. He'd walk it, but he'd go straight across and have no problem walking through the desert.
He wouldn't take the road?
No.
He's by himself. Most of the time he's been doing odd jobs all over, and he walks every place to move his equipment.
I mean,
Find a clue in the air.
start flying, and like you said, just spiral inward.
Okay, perfect. Thank you guys so much.
The best theory would be so far that Don and Jim, the only other guys that had connections to the farm, and the first 2 people to search, would have had interest in getting rid of Dylan because they would be the ones to kind of take over the farm. And the fact that Dylan and Don had a problem 3 or 4 weeks ago, and Dylan basically fired Don, so Don had motive to come back, police detectives, nobody have talked to Don or Jim.
Jim didn't sound like. And Don happens to be Grandpa's good friend.
Yeah.
And Grandpa's
And he's back
business
over there.
partner with Dylan, but Dylan doesn't like Don.
Right.
Wild.
So this is this is much more than just a missing person search. We're now dealing with like a bit of a riddle.
Looking to put down here for a minute, and then we're going to be wrapping up our search. Need to head as direct to Wendover as possible for fuel reasons. Do you know when the Alpha restricted is going to be open again?
09 Whiskey, I do have F-35s that are working low level in your direct path, direct Wendover, so I can't get you direct right now. How long will it be before you're asking for direct?
It'd be probably within the next, well, as soon as possible, but you tell me.
If you do a shutdown for 10 to 15 minutes, it'll probably work out with timing perfectly.
Yeah, that gives us plenty of time. I'll be in the air, probably calling you in about 20 minutes again. All right, so we have flown for about an hour. That's about all the fuel that we have right now to be able to get back to Wendover, to be able to top off. And honestly, it kind of feels like we're not doing much good right now, other than clearing areas to be sure that there's not a body laying on the ground or something that was obviously recently disturbed, which is still kind of hard to tell with the terrain out here. One good dust storm or rainstorm, which they had since he went missing, would easily cover up any tracks that were out here. So we basically need to land, talk with the family for a minute, and then head back over to Wendover and get fuel. And then I think before we spend any more time on this search, there's some more questions that need to be answered from people out here, the last people to see him, law enforcement, if they're going to get involved any further, which you'd think they would. However, this is kind of a weird area because it's in Utah, but Nevada law enforcement is handling it because they're closest. They need to do some fingerprinting, some interrogating, asking some hard questions to the people that could be of interest. So as far as what we're doing right now in the air, I think our work here is about done. We've covered a pretty good area as to where somebody could possibly be. Basically this whole little basin right here from mountain to mountain. And we're also fighting a little bit of air traffic out here with the fighter jets dropping ordnances right behind us. So the restricted military airspace controllers are keeping us out of that airspace that we flew through to get here, because obviously we got to steer clear of all the bombs and stuff they're dropping. So, and even with that, the family doesn't think that south of here was much of an area of interest. They were more focused on kind of north, northwest, and then towards town. So we'll talk to the family, and then I think as far as today goes, our work is probably done.
I'm gonna lie, it's kind of a weird one. In a situation like this where it's kind of assumed that there might be some foul play involved, but that's assumed by, you know, the kid's mom, who obviously trusts him and knows him, that he wouldn't go off and do something stupid. But you never know. There's so many unanswered questions. So basically, we flew a lot, covered a lot of ground, more ground than actually anticipated. And if he was in this area, as far as like if he was like on surface level, passed out, fainted or something, we would have seen him. If he was recently buried, or if there were some earth disturbances, we probably could have seen those, because we saw recent tracks from other vehicles and stuff pretty easily. I know the family is still super frustrated because they can't get answers from anybody. But the whole thing that's kind of thrown me off about this is the fact that there's not much of an investigation happening. It's just kind of people waiting to see, you know, what clue happens next, rather than actively pursuing maybe some of the people of interest or different things like that. So as far as what we can do within our, you know, capabilities today, I wish we could have you know, provided a little bit of closure to the family or done more, but we did as much as we could. I think we're gonna wrap it up, talk with the family, and head home.
Well, thank you guys, and you guys have a safe flight back or whatever.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like I
We'll
said, text me
Eternally
later.
grateful. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
Text me later, okay?
Thank you guys so much. And yeah, I got your cell number, so I'll keep on.
Yeah.